Steven Greer. This is mostly for you, buddy. Hold on a second, people. I'm working something here. Work with me. Stay with me. There we go. I was going to hold it, and then I just decided I'm not going to hold it. But, let me adjust this. See, there's all kinds of little knick-knack, paddywhacks. Give a dog a bone. All right. That's too much now. The balancing act. You'll never know. Oh, hey, Brad. What's up, buddy? I was bored. I saw Steven was commenting. I mostly went live because Steven was commenting, so I was like, okay, well, I'll come on. But I've noticed that I did see a big drop in my in the British people, so I wanted to, I guess, come on at a time and talk to you guys. I'm kind of just bored. I'm bored. I'm really bored. Are you bored? Are you awake? I'm awake. Well, what time is it here in America? I don't even know. What time is it in Britain? It's just easier to figure that out. Hold on. I was playing a game. There we go. Yeah. You're bored as well. Well, it's like early morning there, isn't it, Brad? Oh, the cats are going. They're doing their thing. But, yeah. 6 in the morning, so then it's almost 1 here. Yeah. What are you doing up so early, Brad? You guys enjoy any of those videos? I loaded up a few videos, and hopefully you guys are enjoying some of the new stuff. That I was really happy to see that rules of, I can't remember what it's called. So, well, hello, Matt, Shelly. What's wrong with your car, Brad? What's wrong with the car? Excusez-moi. Pardon-moi. Okay, show. I haven't seen the new Star Wars. J-Bomb. Oh, you don't? Well, no, Shelly. Feel free. Go be with your people. That's fine. Yes, Frank. No, Frank, for God's sakes, Dolly's not coming today. You know what, Frank? I may just have to try to find out when Dolly Parton is going to be live and crash it somehow, just so I can be like, yes, Frank. Yes, I got Dolly Parton for you. Maybe someday. I don't know. Once you got a thing with Dolly Parton, huh? Okay. Peanut, hak moet jetzt? Stop. Stop. That's the idea. Okay. You can't bother to be fixing your own brakes. Brakes take like no time at all, Brad. All you need is a 10mm wrench, and a lug nut, and take the calipers off. It's the easiest job in the world. And look, the way I do it is I don't even bleed the brakes. What I do is I just open up the the top where by the master cylinder, and what I do is I don't crack the bleeder valve. You can use a C-clamp, but I can usually just get it with a piece of wood and just push slowly and push the caliper back all the way in, and as long as you're careful and you don't rupture the boot, you're good to go. You can just push it down by hand, and you don't have to worry about pumping or bleeding the brakes. A little longer, but it saves. It saves, yeah. What's with all this UFO stuff disclosure? Oh, well, good. I'm glad. I've been watching it. Okay. Well, I guess what they've been saying was that the Pentagon released information. Well, you know, I do the same thing sometimes too, but I don't want to be bothered with it. It hurts my arm to do a lot of that stuff too. I used to do a lot of my own mechanic work, but not so much. But the UFO stuff, I'm glad you brought it up. I like talking that. That's interesting stuff. So the Pentagon released that they had a department investigating UFOs. And I've told you my... Do you have aliens? Tell us, Marika. Well, it's interesting. It's interesting because I think that when UFOs first started being noticed, it was during, I think, like, what, World War II? Now, of course, there's been sightings clearly before that. There was the early sighting in Texas. I believe it was 1892, and the Wright brothers hadn't even flown yet, and it was reported that there was an airship being reported over Texas and Oklahoma, parts of Nevada, New Mexico, and apparently it hit a windmill or something along those lines and crashed. And the occupants of the people that found the body and the craft, they threw all this stuff down a well and all that. And these people have grown some massive tumors from drinking water from this well. It was terrible to see what's happened to these people from drinking well water with foreign metal thrown into it. But they in the newspaper, the local paper, it was reported that the occupant of the craft was clearly not of this world, and they buried him with as they say, a Christian burial. And that was one of the earliest reportings I know of a UFO. Now, it would make sense that you would have a single thing going out on a routine, basic, single, not very powerful ship to do scouting. A probe of sorts. A manned probe, but maybe with a little single being. And it crashed while doing surveying. You know, it has shields down or whatever. And, it's fragile metal or whatever the system was. Maybe electrical storm. I don't know. But... That was reported, and it's well documented in papers. But I think when you see the major appearance of the UFOs is during World War II, when they were spotting Foo Fighters. Now, the thing about the Foo Fighters is I think it's interesting, though, that's when Germany was starting to do a lot of nuclear testing. Now, what's really interesting is, and I like to look to not necessarily... I guess we can talk like this if we're going to go this route. I think then if people in Hollywood knew, kind of like the whole conspiracy with the moon landing and what was that director, Stanley Kubrick, putting hidden messages in movies. I like to think sometimes if you look at things, how would they present that? And when you look at California... Was a rock marking a buried alien? Yes, there you go. But I guess the body was never exhumed or something, and the people who own the well won't allow the well to be opened up and tested. But you can see the pictures of the family that got some very, very nasty tumors from some serious radiation. But it's interesting, though, that I think that in some ways, like, if you look at things like, if I was a film director and I did have insight on some of this, and, not all these people are horrible, wouldn't you want to try to maybe put some kind of stuff, influence into the movie-making business that you get stuff out of? Look at the cats going nuts with each other. But anyway. So... as I was saying before, the cats rudely interrupted me. And you know what? I'm not going to lie with you. Kind of lost my train of thought. Was going with something, but I needed to lead up to it. Lost it. I don't know so much with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's interesting, though, that... it's very interesting that he has such insight into stuff like this. But this is where I was going with it. It took me a second. I got it back, Matt. I had to start thinking about what I was talking about, and I started spoiling it in my head. Where was I going with the movie business? And then it came to me like this. Okay, with the whole nuclear testing. Nuclear explosions are very unique. They're very unique. They're very detectable signals. And it would be interesting to think that if we were detonating certain nukes and testing... that somebody might pick up on that, and they started wondering, hey, what are you doing? These are kind of dangerous. You can do a lot of damage with some of these if you make them big enough, especially in space, where you could probably make one huge. But I was thinking about, like, the movie Star Trek. My deepest and sincerest apologies. As I was saying. Now, did you guys ever see the movie Star Trek Which one was it? Not Generations. It was Star Trek. The second one with Picard. Somebody help me out here. I have it. I have all the Star Trek movies with Picard and all that. The one with Tom Hardy. The one where they go into the past, they follow the Borg into the past because they have to fix. Was that the one with Tom Hardy? Is that the actor? And he has to do what they're showing you though when they go back into the past. Did you guys hear that? So when they go back into the past, they meet the guy who invents basically what's it called? The warp drive. The warp drive. Invents the warp drive. And when he tests the warp drive, a alien race picks up First Contact. Thank you. The First Contact. That was it. Star Trek First Contact. Wonderful movie if you haven't seen it, by the way. So he tests his first warp drive, and they're making a lot of points. What I think is really interesting is obviously they land in somewhere in America, and it's interesting to. Oh yeah, Brad, take care, buddy. And it's interesting that when they land in America at this time, they're talking about that she said that it took her. It's interesting that they made the warp drive out of a remodeled nuclear weapon that had been disassembled. Now, what that points to, though, is the woman, she was also she's like, oh, factions, what faction are you with? It would make sense that if something ever happened like that, that the world would split into factions, and from an old missile that they're able to build a vehicle, and she says it took me forever to gather enough titanium for a 2-meter cockpit, and it was the first warp drive. But the point is, though, is that a signal was made in space that contacted the aliens. Now, I'm thinking and that came from a remodeled nuke. So, I'm thinking, though, that if you knew something like that, and and they told you, hey, look, here's the insight, is that when we tested nukes, it contacted aliens, and you're like, huh. So, like, some kind of signal was put out, and you just have to change it. Oh, warp drive. And then you've adapted that into a movie, and there's where you get your inspiration for a movie. That's where I was going with that whole point. Off the wall, maybe, but it almost makes sense, right? Almost, not quite. Far-fetched, of course. Do I believe it? I don't know. I just came up with the idea. Doesn't mean it's true, but I put it out there. You may not be ready for disclosure. I'm good to go. It's obvious. Anybody with a sensible mind can just think that, okay, if life is on this planet, yes, it takes very unique situations where life can occur. Very unique situations. But not so unique situations that with large enough numbers, anything would be possible. And it just makes sense that there's more out there. Unless you're going to go with this idea that the whole of everything we've been told by science and everybody in science is just lying, then other than that, then it's just got to be a possibility there's more people. There's not necessarily people, more something, more intelligence. Is it Tom DeLonge? I'll have to look him up. I remember Stephen Greer, very familiar with his work. The reason I started this live stream was there's another gentleman by the name of Stephen Greer, and he's a fan of the channel, and he comes in here quite often. And he had messaged me, am I on right now? And I was like, well, I'm not, but Stephen comes in routinely, so I figured I'd go live to see if he was up and awake. And he hasn't joined us yet, but I'm happy to have you guys here with me. Thumbs up if you haven't yet. Let's see. So that's it's just interesting stuff. I've told you guys my little encounter, everything. It was nothing big, nothing huge. I don't pretend to say it was an alien encounter because I have no idea what it was. Okay, I will definitely check that. When I get off of here, I needed something to watch, and now you guys have given me a good ride. Well, I was playing World of Tanks. You guys ever played World of Tanks? It's a free game on Xbox 360. It's actually a lot of fun. I enjoy it very, very much. But didn't want to come on here too long. Glad to see some people are still awake and are waking up to say hello. Hello. If you aren't tuning in live, and maybe you're somebody else who's watching this at another time, like some of our friends do. Who's my buddy up in Michigan? I can't remember his name. You got to comment. Big beard guy. I feel so bad I can't remember your name. But he watches me as he drives into work, usually in the morning, early morning. I was enjoying doing the shows with Sip, and I'd like to do more of those. I'd love to go do, when I go back up to see Sip again, or he comes down to visit, whichever one, we will, of course, do a Joe and a Jay again, which is a lot of fun. I enjoy doing those so much. Good to hang out with my buddy. Yeah. Anywho. Sip was talking. I talk to Sip on the daily anyway. And I was talking to him today. And we were talking about, we were hearing the things about Hawaii and all that. And, you know, that's a shame. What a terrible way to think about things when you think about it. I mean, I try to prepare for things like that. You can never really, there's not a whole lot you could do. But, oh, you do as well? Sweet. That's what I'm talking about, dears. You guys should get on there. Let me know if you guys ever want to. I'll give you my Xbox Live screen name. And you guys can send me a message, and I'd be happy to play with you guys anytime. Do I live near, I think you mean Skywalker Ranch, right? Have I recovered from the snow pea? Let's not discuss that one. Hopefully you guys got a kick out of that, and you can share. Sharing on your social media would be very much appreciated for that one. So probably never gonna happen. Well, thank you, Anne. I appreciate it, because that's not gonna happen again. Oh, no. But that's cool. That's cool. It is what it is. Yellow snow. Yellow snow. You know, they always say, don't eat the yellow snow. And as I've told my friend David on here, don't tell me how to do my job. So. Don't eat the yellow snow. I broke the golden rule. That's even worse. The golden snow rule. I broke the golden snow rule. Nope. Oh, okay. Skinwalker Ranch. I'm not familiar with Skinwalker Ranch. I'll have to. Now I do know there was this. Did you guys ever hear about the one with the? I don't want to, and I say this in no disrespect, but the hillbilly people up in Kentucky that had a shootout with what they said was aliens, because that was like right up the road. If you guys are interested in it, I'll go film where I think it was. Skinwalker Ranch is X tier. Oh, do you mean like the Dream Zone or the Dream thing and all that out in Nellis Air Force Base? DreamWorks, S4 and all that? Because I'll tell you, when I was in the military, I used to go see S4. I've been to S4 several times. You watch the UFO Seekers channel? Okay, that's what's up. But when I say I've been to S4, I don't mean I've been to Groom Lake or anything like that. You have shops in the Army and have different branches. What's S4? S4, well, the S4 we're referring to is S4 Groom Lake, Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada, a.k.a. Dreamland. And it's supposedly where America keeps the UFOs and all that kind of technology and whatnot out at Groom Lake. And S4 is like where it is. No, I don't think it's at White Sands. It's at White Sands is in Arizona. It's in Nevada, and it's Nellis Air Force Base outside of Las Vegas.
I've been to it. Met a nice Air Force girl in Vegas, but uh, it's out farther into the desert. Nellis Air Force Base has a lot of desert area, and it's one of the areas out in Groom Lake. You can look it up on a map. It's in Groom Lake, which is an old lake bed. There was several right near Fort Irwin where I was stationed, and they supposedly they do have it's. I mean, it's acknowledged that there's a base out there, and you can go out as close as you can get to it, and there's signs and all that jive turkey. Thoughts on Bob Lazar? My thoughts on Bob Lazar. Okay, I'm not going to say that it was kind of creepy that we started discussing this and that as soon as I did, we lost connection. Just interesting. But with Bob Lazar, I think he's credible. He came up with a whole lot of stuff. Well, hold on. Let me double check. White Sands, I believe. I thought that was. I had a buddy who went to White Sands. I thought. Let me double check. You could be very well right. White Sands, New Mexico. Okay, yeah. And Nellis Air Force Base. Nellis Air Force Base is where it's located. Yeah, Nellis Air Force Base in the Las Vegas Valley, Nevada. Yep. And then you just take the route out to the Groom Lake area. You won't get close at all. But yep, that's where it's located, outside of Nellis Air Force Base. I had a sergeant who got stationed there. Hi, Pipes. Come here. Hi, he wants to. Yeah. There's my pipe. Hi, Pipes. Everyone say hi. She's very talkative today. Yeah. Come here, pretty kitty. So, but you, hey, you stand corrected. It was in New Mexico. You are correct. But yeah. So Groom Lake, though. Bob Lazar. And because remember, they fly out the base that flies out the staff. They fly out of the Las Vegas airport on a special flight. But I think Bob Lazar was credible, and I think what happened with him was that he came out with the information, and that's what protected him, is he came out with it publicly, and I think what they wound up doing was telling him, listen, here's what you're gonna do. You're not gonna speak about it anymore. Well, it's very true that they can't be building top secret, but it's just interesting that even like there's been people that have been told that they don't need to know. And is it very possible? Well, he definitely believes his own story. They did a recent interview with him years later, and he was saying, I wish I never did it. You know, it ruined him. But he was like, but I'm, you know, I did it, and it is. But he doesn't ever say he's lying. If he's lying for the publicity and the money, I guess it worked out for him. You know, he got a few book deals maybe or something along those lines. But is it worth it to everyone call you like the fraud, the kook, the liar, to get his name dragged through the mud? Is it worth it? Was it really worth it just to come up with this crazy little story that you made up? I mean, it would take a lot for someone just to make up. It is and that's why I think it's really difficult to say, but you have to keep it so secretive. And to keep that up with the lie for years and want to do that, you know, it would be nanotechnology. There's Stephen Greer. Hey, buddy, the whole point of me coming on was I saw you commented about an hour ago, and I was like, oh, well, Stephen wanted to know if I was on, so figured I'd come on and see if you were on, Stephen, and that was actually the whole point. We were discussing that, and now we were talking about Stephen Greer and Bob Lazar, and look at that. They kicked me off, and Stephen Greer shows up. Little X-Files music. Well, you know, if it worked out for him, I guess it worked out for him. But let's say that he was lying. And here's something though that's interesting though, is that, you know, people say, oh well, maybe he's lying, Stephen Greer's lying, Bob Lazar is lying, and they're just doing it for the money. Well, you know, even if that's true, that still doesn't disprove anything. You know, just because there's fraud doesn't disprove that there's not still possibility. Stephen, yeah. But his name is spelled. Oh, well, then I shall say you are Stephen Greer. Stephen Greer, of course. But well, very, very good. He does have his name spelled with the Steven spelling. So, very notable. You know, it's actually interesting, as you guys know me, as you know, Jay Greenbaum. There's another Greenbaum out there that you guys probably know, and it's actually a song. And let's see who can, if you know the song. If I tell you guys the name, you should know the artist. So, are you familiar with the song "Spirit in the Sky"? You know, it's where I wanna go when I die, when I die, when I die, and they lay me to rest. I wanna go to the place that's the best. Well, that was a song by Norman Greenbaum. Norman Greenbaum. Now, he did. Norman Greenbaum was the that song would be the one that plays at your funeral. I think at my funeral I would want Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. That's a good song for playing at a funeral. Life's a piece of shit when you look at it. So laugh and dance and sing and play while you can. And always look on the bright side of life. Now, you know, that's a good one. Right? Spirit in the Sky was a good song. He was a one-hit wonder. Norman Greenbaum was a one. Now, what's really interesting is there's no relation to me whatsoever. But my dad grew long hair out for a while, and he cut his beard like Norman did with the big goatee and all that. And he took a picture of it, and he sent it to the Norman Greenbaum fan club, which is still run by Mr. Greenbaum himself. And my dad and him corresponded for a little bit, and they got an autograph, and they're friends. And my dad talks to him once in a while now. Again, he's an older gentleman, obviously, but yeah, they correspond every here and then. There's another Jeremy Greenbaum on Facebook, and he was also in the military. And this is really interesting, and I don't know if I should talk about it. There's several, so you won't know exactly which one. But there's another Jeremy Greenbaum, and him and I speak sometimes, once in a while. And, you know, him and I called each other once, or we were texting each other on Facebook once. You know, had a private message going on. And it turns out the similarities between the two of us are, like, uncanny. Our names were the same. Our brothers' names were the same. We had similar middle names, but in different brothers. My brother's middle name was in one of his brother's middle names. One of my middle name was in his other brother's middle name. And our lives were very similar growing up. It was really weird. And it was just interesting. Very interesting to talk to him. And yeah, a lot of similarities. Tons of similarities. I was like, huh, it's just interesting. Good guy. He's a good guy. But he was also in the military. It's weird that he also joined the military. So when I guess when I saw the Jeremy Greenbaum one, and I was like, I wonder who that guy is. That was him. Because what they used to do is when you join the military here, they assign you you automatically get assigned an email address associated to the military. And I got Jeremy Greenbaum. And I was like, okay, cool. And I knew other people who had, like, you know, some people with, like, very common names. Smiths would be like, you know, John Smith 4 or John Smith 27, because there was a lot of those. So I was the first one with mine, but then a few years went on, and I would go into, we had a system where we could look up other service members and contact them by their email via that. So if you had a buddy, you could look them up in this system. You could look up any military person's systems. If they were ever in the military, they're assigned one of these systems now, whether they're alive, dead, or they use it or not. I found my great-grandpa's on my grandpa's. And So he was the when I eventually saw a Jeremy Greenbaum 1 pop up. I was like, huh, somebody else named Jeremy Greenbaum joined the military. And it wasn't until years later that I actually found on Facebook, because I didn't use Facebook or MySpace. I never used that. Somebody made all that stuff for me. The Facebook I have now, somebody else created for me years ago, because I refused to do it myself. I didn't want to be a part of that. The MySpace, I never had my own MySpace. Somebody else created that for me. It's like, here, there, so you have one now. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess so. And that's how that all started. I wasn't ever going to get into it. Never wanted to. Curses, huh? Have I done my DNA test yet? No, Anne, I have not. I have not done my DNA test yet. I will soon enough. My birthday's coming up soon, so maybe I'd do it for my birthday. Oh, I'm getting so old. I know, Piper. Yeah. But, yeah, what are you gonna do, huh? What are you gonna do? Nothing, dude. Okay, so, well, we're on a half an hour. I think I'll run this out another 15 minutes. If you guys want to hang out, that's cool. If you got other stuff to do, that's cool. Sally Gardner, I'm awake, dude. That's what's up. Salty Gamer. Sorry, I was there's Sally Gamer. Salty Gamer, that's what's up. I'm sorry, I said Sally Gamer. Oh my gosh, like I was squinting for a second. Sorry. You forgot that song existed, did you know? That's one of the that's like you hear it all the time in movies, and the royalties to it are used all the time, and people don't even think about it. Get some sleep. No, not yet. Not yet. I did a 36-hour stint the other day, and then I started thinking about it. Like I came up with, I was like, no, I'm not allowed to. That's still against the law. If my state legalized it, um, the VA said it's okay for treatment for PTSD, but they can't recommend it. Piper, really? Yeah. I know, Pumpkin. Do I play Wizard 101? No, I've never heard of it. Sounds like fun. I want to get a nice home gaming computer system soon, but that's something that's it's gonna take a while. It's on my wish list. For recreation use, you know what though? My opinion on it, Matt, is here's how my opinion of how everything should go. You should be able to do whatever you want, as long as it doesn't harm somebody else or somebody else's property. Do whatever you want, as long as you don't harm somebody else or somebody else's property. So if somebody wants to use something recreational, who am I to tell you no? Who am I to tell you what you can and cannot use? Who am I? Nobody. True freedom is the right to make good and bad decisions for yourself. And I think I'd like to take a page from the feminist book for that then. My body, my choice, right? If I want to put something into my body, it's my choice. There you go. And as long as I don't harm somebody or somebody else's property, I should be able to do whatever I want in the comfort of my own home, as long as I'm not bothering anyone. Right? Seems pretty simple. If we all lived by like that, it's a very simple rule. Should be all good to go. Hello, David. How are you? Yes, I did really eat the yellow snow, Warren. It's David, with the military man. Military man. Oh, okay. Oh, cool, Davo. That's what's up. Well, I was gonna get off soon, but so many people are still stopping by. I might hang out with you guys for a little bit. Don't forget the thumbs up if you haven't already. Don't forget to always look for the verification. Like a brand stamp. Maybe I'll get little stamps and then like see people I can just stamp their, let's say JG, and just stamp your thumbs. You'll have a JG thumb stamp. Well, I don't know if necessarily you should give anything out for free, but they should definitely be able to sell it, tax it, and make some money on it. And so I think, though, that, you know, if somebody wants to sell something and somebody wants to buy it and there's a market, you should let them. As long as, again, you come back to, you're not hurting anybody, you're not stealing their property, you're not harming property, you're not harming someone else other than yourself, you're good to go. Do whatever you want. Like, I mean, like, seriously, like, I would say go as far as if someone decided they wanted to jump the Grand Canyon on a dirt bike, and that was their decision to want to do it, and you're like, you know you're not going to make it. Well, I got a ramp. Well, I know you got a ramp, but you're not going to make it. No, that's what I want to do. I want to jump the Grand Canyon on, you can try. You want to try? And what they should do is they should just have a nice cleanup crew ready for them, clean that up, and get back to tourism. That's what the guy wanted to do. You know, somebody wants to go over in a barrel over in... Someone wants to go over Niagara Falls in a barrel, and that makes the headlines, and no one says, oh, okay, that's fine. Oh, he's a daredevil. He wants to, you know, he wants to risk his life going over the falls in a barrel. We'll put it on TV. But somebody wants to stick a needle in their arm and shoot up and not bother anybody, you know, we'll throw them in jail. What's the difference? What's the difference? You're both risking your life at the same time. What's the difference? Do you really... I mean, I know people are like, well, drugs terrible, it destroys lives. Yeah, it does. But not everybody does them. And honestly, like, let's say this, let's just be honest in reality. Am I on Twitter? I am on Twitter. I am on Twitter. Do I tweet on Twitter? I don't use so much... good morning, Ash. I don't so much use my Twitter for... I use Twitter for work. Well, not so much work. For the job I do for my friend. You know, got unpaid business working in the music business, but it's fun. Sort of. I do stuff from home. This is my... I use my laptop. That's all I do for the job. But it gets a lot of work done. Anywho, the point is, though, is that I use my Twitter for a lot more of stuff like that. Facebook is what I use for a lot of personal opinions and stuff. So if that's what you were going with, yes, no. So, okay, cool. Anywho, Spaghetti-O. Yeah, true and free. I really don't care what your neighbors. If somebody wants to do something, who cares? If a guy wants to go to work, come home, pay his bills, right? And he wants to come home and snort a line of coke, who am I to tell him no? Yeah. Who am I to tell him no? And at least we could make good, clean stuff for him. Piper. Piper got to see snow for the first time, and she wasn't very thrilled about it. Hello? See if I can get her to say hello. Visine? Why do I need Visine? My eyes aren't red. Are they red? Hold on. Nah, my eyes are good. They're good to go. Good to go, Spaghetti. My eyes change color. Do you guys' eyes change color? If I'm, depending on the weather and the color of clothing I'm wearing, my eyes change color. Like if I want my eyes to be blue, I wear brighter colors. And if I want my eyes to go darker green, I wear darker colors. If it's gray outside or like snowy or gray, my eyes go green. And when it's like really bright and sunny, they go blue. Yeah, only when I smoke. I swear I hate that when it happens. But Matt Willis, do you know why Do you know why your eyes turn red when you smoke? Do you know why, Matt? I'm sure you do, but we'll see. Just for shites and giggles, we'll dive into it. Do you know why your eyes turn red? No Google. No Google. Ooh, okay, I get to share a fun fact with everybody. Okay, the reason your eyes turn red when you smoke weed is because what happens is there's a lot of veins in your eyes, right? And what happens is when you smoke weed, it relaxes the muscles in your eyes, and the capillaries open up. Sorry, I shouldn't say veins, it's capillaries. The capillaries open up and the blood flows. The eyes actually, blood is closest to the surface, closer than anywhere else in your body in your eyes. So what happens is when your eyes relax and the muscles opens up, more blood flows and turns your eyes red. It's actually just your eye muscles relaxing. But that's why when people who have glaucoma and they say it eases their glaucoma, it's because what it is that's an overtensioning of the eye muscles, an overstrain of the eye muscles. And when they smoke the weed, the relaxation from the muscles relaxation is eases the pressure, and that's why it helps people with glaucoma. Knowing's half the battle, G.I. Joe. So right there, if they say that right there alone, what we just discussed, should alone be enough to take marijuana out of a Category 1 Schedule narcotic, because the Schedule 1 narcotic says it has no medical use, but we were able just to prove that just through cause and effect, that it does cure glaucoma, not cure, but does aid in glaucoma, and therefore it does have medical purpose, and therefore should not be a Category 1. Did we just do it? I think so. Do you want to know how? Do you want to know how marijuana stops a seizure, Matt? You want to know? I tell you. Because it does. When you see the kids seizuring with the CBD oil, it's all medical, and it proves it. It proves it. And I'm not saying that it cures all. And I hate when people say, "Oh, it's a cure-all." It's not a cure-all. It just cures a lot. Yes, but do you know what the chemical process of what's actually physically happening? It does stop the spasm, but do you know how? And I can tell you, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But like on the chemical level. Okay, cool. It does stop. You're absolutely correct. It relaxes the muscles, but here's what's happening. Okay, so you have to link everything in your body as just chemicals, okay? It's all chemicals. It's just this wonderful soup of chemicals. And what's going on is that at the end of every nerve in your body, for years, scientists, they saw this nerve, this receptor at the end of nerves, and they weren't sure what it was for, okay? And so what happens is during a seizure, no, I haven't done any magnet fishing. Are you frozen? I'm frozen here in Tennessee. We got like 3 inches of snow on the ground. I haven't been able to get out magnet fishing. I got to find a new spot too. The rivers here have just been eating up magnets, so I don't want to get another one stuck in the river. But we'll get to some more soon. I want to do more metal detecting. I think it'll be better around here. I want to get a metal detector. I think that's what I would like to do is metal detecting. I'm down for that. But the magnet fishing here, we've got the Cumberland River. I'm sure you're familiar with the Cumberland River. But hold on, I'm getting off point. Okay, so let me get back on point real quick. I'm sorry, I got really distracted. You just squirreled me. So back to what I was saying, though. I heard it can, but it takes so much that it takes a long time to do so. You need a lot, apparently. But you can use unground nutmeg seeds. If you want to crush up unground nutmeg seeds and put them in your pipe and smoke them, you can. Give a similar effect to THC. Be very careful, though. It is possible to overdose. So what happens is that when you're having a seizure, your brain is sending uncontrollable electrical pulses to your muscles, which causes them to clench and control uncontrollably. And what happens is that little receptor we were talking about is finally, after some study was done, they were able to find that receptor is for THC, and it bonds to the nerve. But it does something very interesting in different situations depending on what the body needs. So when the THC bonds to the nerve and a muscle receptor is firing too much and it's causing the muscle to spasm, what happens is, Darren, we'll get into that in just a second. Your brain is a chemical soup. There's a lot of chemicals going on. Dopamines, tropamines, electrical signals. There's a lot going on in your brain. There's a lot of chemicals and electrical things going on. This is a fact. Okay? We'll talk about it in a second, though. So what happens, though, is the THC bonds to the nerve. And if the muscle's firing too much and the other receptor's picking up, causing the muscle to spasm, what happens is the THC slows the nerve's receptors down so that the signals are still coming, but because the nerve is relaxed, it's picking up fewer. It's picking up fewer, and it stops the spasm from happening because it's not receiving the signal. Now, people were like, okay, so it just relaxes it. But people who have bad nerves where they're not getting like the motion, where they can't control their nerves, it's not working properly, they're having motion problems, when the THC then bonds to the nerve, it then increases the sensitivity of the nerve, allowing fewer signals to get the same effect. And it's just an interesting thing that it bonds to that. And for years, scientists were trying to figure out what this receptor is for. And it just so happens to turn out that our body it's no coincidence that our body is able to even be able to respond to that. So, yeah, I've checked out Tennessee Adventures. He's got a great channel. Okay, but now not David, I'm sorry, I apologize. Who was it we were speaking to? Deers Warren. He asked, do I believe in the soul? Well, that's a very broad spectrum, because it depends on what you would want to call a soul. Warren. Can I just say Warren? I'm just going to say Warren. It depends on what you want to call a soul, Warren. And would you please define the term for me? I just want to be on an understanding of where we're speaking when we say soul, so that when I give my explanation of what I feel, who we are. Okay. Well, Steven actually noticed. Yes, they are different glasses. Somebody noticed. I fell asleep on my glasses and broke them. Something outside of the physical. Okay, so good. We're working on that premise of a soul. Then yes, David, I do believe then we have souls. Is it, no, they're not Evie's glasses. These are another pair that the Army had given me. And I wore them in Afghanistan for a while. And I just didn't like the color. And I didn't like that they were shiny, reflective as much. So I never really wore them. And, but I fell asleep on my other pair and cracked them. So I busted them out. Well, and see, though, that's something totally different, too. Like, with ghosts, what I really think ghosts are is I think that strong physical emotion, and I know this may be a bit of a reach, and if it's a bit of a reach, I think that strong physical emotion can leave an imprint, an energy imprint on it, and what happens is it plays, it's like a record that's just playing over and over again. And I think that's what it is. And sometimes they can interact differently in different ways, but for the most part, it's like just basically when there's strong emotional energy, it can create a broken record loop, and that's what I think happens. Some of the energy, but like, okay, if you want to define, let's define what I think of what soul is for me. So again, I think that now, don't get me wrong, there's a basic principle of energy is we know that energy can't be destroyed. It can only change forms. Okay? So on that premise, there's energy in your brain. Okay? There is an electrical energy charge in your brain. There's electrical energy. Okay? When that electrical energy essentially traveling around a certain path is what is you. Okay? Now, we know that light is also energy, and light can store data. Okay? We know this is possible. This is how quantum computers work. They use light photons to store data. So if your brain has an electrical charge, which is energy, and is able to store data, and when you die, this essentially the electrical charge stops, but it doesn't stop, it changes forms. But that energy we know can retain data. Oh, of course, we'll get to that in just a moment. I'll be happy to speak on that in just a moment. That's the Mass-Krad effect. And basically what happens is I think that when that charge is gone and it leaves your body because the physical form is no longer able to sustain the charge, and this is just a stretching, and I could be wrong. This is just a theory too. I can't be. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know nothing. Again, I'm nobody. I don't know nothing. It's just an idea. And it's never wrong to say an idea. We can talk though. We can just see. This is what I go through. You guys are actually getting to talk and hang out with me for a little bit, and this is what goes through my brain constantly. Stuff like this. So I come up with theories, just not because I believe them, but just because. So okay. So when the electrical charge leaves your body, it goes back into what I guess we would say is like the ether of everything. Now, and then I guess I can take that back into like, if you want to go how the universe was created. I've already knocked that one out, at least in a theory. To me, that makes sense. And I'd be happy to share that one with you if you guys want to take a few minutes to dive into that when I'm finished this one. Let me know if you want to. If not, we'll change subjects if this is getting boring or repetitive. So, and it's possible that if this energy can carry information, then what is your personality would then still be transferable in this energy, and you would go back into what would be an ether with other forms of energy that have gathered to basically use their experiences to interact with one another, enriching the energy's existence. Kinda, Matt, in a sense. But that's my take. Is it a perfect idea? No. Now, okay, I guess if you want to get on to creation then, here's how I guess creation could have been, the whole universe could have been formed. Let's assume then that my idea of a consciousness of energy exists, okay? Let's say this consciousness of energy, which we know, and we'll go ahead and jump into this one, E equals mc squared, right? Very basic, simple math. Thank you, Einstein. Energy is equal to matter squared by the speed of light. So energy is equal to matter, which then in turn means matter is equal to energy. So in essence then, if we took a being of energy, which would be obviously, and now we got to get into frequencies, because a being of pure energy would be vibrating. Everything vibrates. Everything vibrates. Everything has a frequency. It would be vibrating at a very, very high frequency, okay? Now, the energy as a consciousness decides to slow some of its energy down. And when you slow energy down, it can create matter. So a being of pure, I don't want to say being. Exactly, absolutely. Well, you got to remember, here's where things though get really confusing, where I think language needs to be a really important thing. I think we're losing a lot of people on this one. But where you've got to get understanding when it says the word theory, I think a big word that's been forgotten in the scientific community is a hypothesis. No. There's not mathematics that challenge E equals mc squared whatsoever. Now, what we're dealing with now is that they're dealing with is now string theory and M theory, which E equals mc squared is it's proven. That's how nuclear fission works, is that the energy stored inside plutonium and hydrogen and whatnot, it's the potential of stored energy in those physical forms. So there's tons of potential energy. So what is when they say theoretical physics, the word theory means that you've tested it and it's been shown to work in a consistent model time and time again. So when they say the theory of relativity, it means that the relativity has been tested. We can never know for sure of anything, but when we test it in a model and we've done it over and over, and each consistent test shows us the similar and same results, we can then say that our hypothesis is now a theory, because we hypothesize something, we think something, and then when we test it, show it that it can work over and over time again with the exact same results of what we would expect, such as trajectory with gravity. It's how we put satellites in space. We don't know for sure how gravity works, but because we can test how gravity works, we're able to say that it's a theory and the theory works. Therefore, our conclusions must be correct, but of course we can never know. So that's why we're not saying we're 100% right. We call it a theory. But the word hypothesis has been forgotten so much in our language that I think people say, well, that's a theory. The theory of evolution. No, evolution. Oh, talking about energy. I'm sorry. I don't know who Curiosity is. No. Okay, so the energy, so the being of energy would slow its energy down, which would then be able to create matter. Now, here's what's interesting thing though, is that if I was a being of energy and you slowed your energy down into a singularity point, wouldn't that be like it would explode? The energy, because like a bomb, it would be an explosion of matter. And what would that be like similar to? What do we see something similar to that as? The Big Bang. Now, what we could call that energy of pure thing would be, I guess we could call that God. But I would never pretend to understand the will of this creature, because I would be a subset of it, and I would never pretend. I would only try to enrich in my own life, even if that involves enrichment by doing good things and doing what I can do to enrich in myself, so when my energy returns to the other energy as a whole collective, I bring a more full and enriching experience to it as a whole. And the being of energy, the original consciousness that was there in a singularity, would now be able to experience these things of physicality, because it could never totally give itself to that, because it would lose itself to become pure matter. So it never gets to experience a physical dimension, and through us, it experiences that physical dimension through our experiences and our enriching of ourselves. Or I'm just a kook. It's an idea. Again, do I believe it? I don't know. I can't say I believe it. It makes sense. Is it right? I don't know. Is it a good way to live? It's a good way to live your life, I would think. Right? I mean, try to enrich yourself and others so that whatever gave its energy to us did it for a reason, and it wanted to enrich. And that would explain alien life form too, you know? That would handle that. Of course there would be other life to spring up from that. More energy. The being of the original singularity of consciousness gave out lots of energy to create tons of stuff and experience as much as possible of the physical realm. And it's a very interesting universe we live in. Very interesting universe. And that would also, I guess, cover the dimensions theory, that that's a being of a higher dimension. And it would explain that if it came from a fourth dimension, where if time, space has no meaning, it can move in the fourth dimension, it would explain why the being does that. It experiences life. What is that? String theory. It's the force that binds us together. It moves in us and through everything. The force. String theory is not actually a string. It says that the universe is held together by these tiny little bits of energy and dark matters and gravity, which is anti-gravity and all this. Very deep and complicated. Do I pretend to understand it all? No. The belief in 11 dimensions. I think they said that they can go as high as 12 now, 12 or 13 dimensions. And it would make sense that there's other things in those dimensions. And I don't know. Again, I don't know. But and that's the beauty of it though, is that who knows? And there's one. And here's the great thing about it is we all will know. We all get to take that. It'll all be our turn one time to ride the roller coaster and find out for ourselves. And I think that's what's going to be the most amazing thing of all. That's what's amazing. Sometimes closing a good book is amazing, but sometimes finding out that there's more after it is also amazing. Either way, we're going to find out. Quantum physics, I don't know a whole lot. Guys, I'm not a scientist. I'm not some smarty pants. I don't pretend to know about everything, but when I do know something or I have an idea about something, I'm happy to share it. But I don't know tons about quantum physics. I know what I know. I do know this, though, like when we were talking about, what's his name, Bob Lazar. I was hanging out with Evie, and I was thinking about it, free energy, and I was like, how do you do that? Now, I worked as a generator technician in the military, so making electricity was my job. And it's very simple. It's very fundamentally easy to make electricity. It's that you just need some kind of continuous motion. And I just started thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, what can we offer that has almost continuously free mode? Well, magnetism was something I was like, that could do. And basically what it came up with is that one day I was hanging out with Evie, and sometimes for relaxation, I like to get markers and I draw on Evie's back, or I color on Evie's tattoo. She has stars on it, and I'll color them in. It's fun. And so I just started drawing a circuit, a schematic, a circuit. 100 monkeys on a track. I think it's typewriters. And that's the old thing that says 1,000 monkeys with 1,000 typewriters pressing a random buttons for 1,000 years. Eventually, by mathematic statistics, eventually one will push the exact correct sequence of buttons to do the entire work of Shakespeare. Matt Willis, very correct. And if you're familiar with the book, did you guys ever see the movie Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Anybody a fan of that? Anyone? Anybody? When I was a kid, my dad read the books to me, all the series, the entire series. But when I was a kid too, I first saw the British version when I was a child. My dad went to the library here, and he found the VHS copies of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and it was the British version, and it was wonderful. I loved it. But now the newer ones come out. But if you're very familiar with the books, though, you have the LP. Oh, wonderful. But if you're familiar with the books, at one point in time, somewhere in the book, I forget what's going on. It's been so long. But I do remember, I'll never forget, because of that, my dad explained it to me. And I'll never forget him explaining it to me. There was a scene in the book where one of the creators of the planets or something like that was sitting there, and he goes, sir, there's some people who need to speak to you. You need to deal with this matter, blah, blah, blah. By the way, there's also 1,000 monkeys over here, something about a script they want to show you. And I'll never forget that was the reference to the numbers game. And basically it's enough monk people doing enough of this will eventually hit the right keys in the right order to create the entire works of Shakespeare. Slart Bart Fast, was that it? The answer is 42. But see, the quantum question is what is the question? And I guess that's where deep thought would help. I think the answer to the question is, well, it's 42, but the question is how many Reese's peanut butter cups are too many? That's a good one, huh? I got to get back to writing my book. I only finished, I think, 2 chapters, and I got all bummed. Hold on, let me see. Do I still have it saved on my computer? It should be right here. It's a rough draft. I don't know. Let's see, do I have it saved anywhere in here? I should. I think I do. No, that's not it. Oh, the significance of the whale. Do you not understand what happened with the whale? Why the whale was there? It had no meaning whatsoever. Of the simulation theory? Nah, I don't like that idea. It doesn't make sense. But then again, if you were a sim, would you know any better? Chilean? Yeah. Rock on. That's awesome. That's amazing, Anne. I was always very exposed to a lot of British stuff as a kid. So I love British stuff. I watch tons of Are You Being Served? I'll watch episodes over and over again. It's one of my favorite shows. Now, Anne, and to be honest, Anne, I tried watching the Australian version of Are You Being Served? And for the life of me, love, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Even with Mr. Humphreys, I couldn't do it. But the original was great. I loved Mr. Lucas. He was one of my favorites. I think when they changed out Mr. Lucas, that's when the entire show of the dynamic of the show, there was such a banter that went back and forth with Mr. Lucas and Mr. Humphreys that was just so amazing. What I think it was Trevor Bannister, what he did and the way he captured the essence of Mr. Lucas and how he brought him to life was just absolutely amazing. And it was, yes. I loved his humor style. It was so funny. Oh, I loved it. Keeping Up Appearances was another one I watched. I just... No, you're fine, you're fine. But, some of my favorite shows and stuff. Yep. Well, guys, it's starting to wind down here. I was only going to do 45 minutes, and here we are, well over an hour. I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys for now. Thank you so much for everybody. The rat was funny. I'm not familiar with that. But thank you so much for everybody stopping in. Steven, thank you for always commenting so much on everything. Warren, thank you for stopping by as always. And it was a pleasure to have you. I still have your book. Don't worry. It's going to be sent out very, very soon. Matt, it was an absolute pleasure chatting with you guys. Hopefully everybody learned something and we had a good time. Let's go over what we learned real quick. We learned about theories and hypothesis. We learned about how marijuana helps with nerves. We talked about a theory, or I wouldn't say, excuse me, not a theory, a hypothesis. We talked about a hypothesis that I have of life, the universe, and or everything. And we discussed ghosts. And I think that this was a very productive live chat. We covered tons of live topics, and we didn't offend. I think that was amazing. And anyway, we kept it very clean, and everybody had a good time. So I think that overall, I would call the rest of this live stream a success. If you enjoyed it, please thumb up. If you're just joining in now and you missed it and I'm getting ready to end it, please, please, please just go back, watch, comment, enjoy. If you got nothing better going on, don't just be like, he ended it. Go back, watch, enjoy, think about something. Comment, tell me what you think. We went over some really weird stuff. So, yeah. So, guys, we're coming up here on the 1 minute 10 mark. I'm going to go ahead and say my adieus. Thank you so much for wasting some of your life with me, guys. Have a good night, morning, day, whatever. Bye from Texas. Thank you. Bye from Tennessee.